All right, everybody ready? All right, good afternoon. Joining with me today is District Attorney John Flynn, First Deputy District Attorney Mike Kane, Chief of Detectives Craig Macy. So we're here today to talk about an arrest that was made Sunday night at approximately 10:30 p.m. A female was assaulted in Shoshone Park. The incident stems from this individual, the victim, who was walking from Main Street, walked through the LaSalle Metro Terminal parking lot, walked down the stairs going into Shoshone Park to cut through the park itself. This individual was originally spotted by the victim on Main Street on a bicycle. That individual worked his way over to a bike path, at which point he confronted her inside of Shoshone Park, where he attacked her at that point. She was able to fight him off, and then during this encounter, during this fight, she was able to kind of de-escalate the situation and talk him down. She communicated with him, and she was able to calm the situation down, which we certainly applaud her for that. At that point, she was able to walk out of the park and led him to a specific place in a safer location out on Hurdle Avenue, where she was able to get inside to a safe location, call police. The individual left that location at that time, and E-District police officers on the other side of Main Street were able to track the individual down within about 20 minutes, where he was taken into custody. Our Special Victims Unit detectives investigated the case, took statements, and the individual was placed into custody. He was placed under arrest at that point. Lamont Love, 38 years old of Buffalo, was charged with sexual abuse in the first degree, assault, and harassment. I do want to take a minute to commend the survivor of this attack. She valiantly fought, and then she also used great communication skills and de-escalation skills during this attack to get the situation to calm down. And we've talked before, and all of us have talked before about, what someone can do in that situation. I've praised victims in the past for fighting for their lives, valiantly fighting, and sometimes that situation isn't exactly present to them, and she was able to both fight and able to talk her way out of that situation. So, you really have to weigh what the situation is if you are in that situation, and hopefully you're not, but if you're in that situation, having the presence of mind to be able to, find a way to calm that situation down, whether it be through fighting, yelling, kicking, screaming, or in this case at work that she was able to talk her way and lead this person out of the park. So I certainly commend the survivor for how she handled herself in this situation and was able to get away. And a very fast response by our Delta District officers and our Edward District officers, as this is right on the border, to be able to take this individual into custody. Great work by our Special Victims Unit detectives that worked this case and brought this case to a point of an arrest. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to District Attorney John Flynn for further information.
So I also want to commend the victim here. I ditto everything that Commissioner Gramaglia stated. Her composure, her response, her thinking on her feet, and doing what she had to do to get out of a potentially awful situation. But as I also want to commend the Buffalo Police Department, obviously, for their fantastic investigative work, their diligent response to this incident, and being able to catch him and arrest him almost immediately. He was arraigned yesterday morning in Buffalo City Court on one count of sexual abuse in the first degree, which is a Class D felony. One count of assault in the third degree, a Class A misdemeanor, and one count of harassment in the second degree, a violation. So we have a sexual charge here. We have the basic assault charge here for the alleged grabbing and tackling of the victim here, and then obviously a harassment charge as well for the just a pure touching of the victim here. The judge in the case put $10,000 bail on the case. I obviously asked for remand. My office felt that it was important that this defendant not get out of jail. The judge put the bail at $10,000. As of a few hours ago, he was still in custody and has not made bail. And I am just hoping that he doesn't make bail and remains in jail. It's scheduled to return on Friday for a felony hearing, and then we will obviously proceed with the investigation. I know that my office has received a number of inquiries, and it is all over social media about this incident that happened in Cheektowaga. At this point, we have no indication that there is any link between the incident that happened in Cheektowaga and this incident right here, and whether or not this offendant was perhaps involved in the Cheektowaga incident. As I said, at this time, there is no information that there's a link, and I say at this time. Obviously, the Cheektowaga Police Department, along with the Buffalo Police Department and my office, are investigating the matter in Cheektowaga. We will continue to investigate that matter, and we will then proceed accordingly. Questions?
Speaking on the Cheektowaga case, last June we had a case in Tonawanda where there was an assault on Kenmore Avenue. We had the Hurdle and Delaware Park situation happen a few months ago. Are any of those cases connected, do you believe?
Well, at this time, we do not have any information on that. Certainly on the Tonawanda one. The one on Hurdle / Delaware Park, that is being investigated as we speak. But as of right now, there's no indication at all the Tonawanda one is linked. As I said, there's no indication that the Cheektowaga one is linked, and we are in the process of reviewing and continuing our investigation on the Hurdle / Delaware Park one.
Could you tell us more about the suspect?
Well, as you know, Maki, I can never talk about any prior convictions that a defendant has, so because that's against my ethical rules, where any talk about any priors that he has would potentially prejudge and taint this case right here. So, as I always do, I cannot comment at all on if or what any priors that he may have had.
How frustrating is it when prosecutors request no bail and then a judge sets bail?
It depends on the case. Sometimes I don't care. Well, I should say, I always care. Sometimes I let it go. Sometimes I just, I move on. It's much more difficult to quote unquote let it go and move on when there's a sexual assault charge here. It's easy for me to let it go and kind of just roll my eyes if it's a petty larceny or even a burg or a rob that there's no one gets hurt or there's no assault, but obviously when there is a homicide or a shooting or a sexual offense, child sex offense case, anything in that world right there, I personally feel that everyone should be remanded.
Is there any
Period.
reason to believe that this is part of some serial case?
At this point, we're not going to put that out there. We're not going to say that. So the answer would be no at this time. There were the other incident that was brought up about Hoyt Lake earlier. We are looking into this. We're looking into see if there are any similarities like we would in any other case. But at this point, there's nothing to use that term at all.
Can you walk through the timeline one more time? The suspect here saw her on Main Street and then saw her in the park?
Yeah, so the survivor came out of a store at about, maybe 10 or 15 minutes before, about 10 minutes before 10:30, so maybe about 20 after 10. Noticed this individual doing something with their bike. She walked behind the Aldi's parking lot, then went through the LaSalle Metro Station parking lot. It's a large parking lot back there. To the back of the parking lot, there's a set of stairs that takes you into Shoshone Park between baseball diamonds, softball diamonds that are back there. They're also in the way back of that parking lot is a bike path. So it's believed that he went along that bike path, and then on that bike path, there's a ramp, if you will, that takes you back into Shoshone Park, which is where that meeting took place. She noticed that he was right on the path and came and grabbed her at that point, attacked her, tackled her onto the ground. She, again, as I walked through, fought off and then was able to de-escalate and communicate, start talking to him, get him to calm down a little bit, and then lured him, if you will, to Hurdle Avenue to a safer location where she was able to get inside and call the police. So that call was made at 10:30 p.m. So we're looking at about 10 to 15 minutes before that as to when that occurred. And as I said, within probably about 20 minutes, he was taken into custody.
How? Like, how were they able to find him?
Based on a very good description by the survivor, patrol officers in E District over a couple blocks off of Main Street, back in the direction where this originated, spotted that individual, was able to pick him up. Officers conducted a show-up where they brought the suspect to a location. The survivor was able to identify that person. And then again, our Special Victims Unit detectives were engaged at that point and continued on with the investigation.
In both this situation and the Hoyt Lake situation, thankfully the suspects, or the victims were able to get away, but as we know, that's not the case across the country. These are just women trying to walk somewhere. What should the public know moving forward, and what should they do?
So we've talked about this, and I think doing your best. Look, you should be able to walk on in any community and walk in safety, and we do our best to provide that coverage. To have our officers out there, but we can't be everywhere, every time, every place. So, what should you do? Do your best, especially at night, to walk in well-lit areas, main drags, main streets. Stay, right on that path. Don't go on paths. Don't go in dark parks. Don't go in dark places. Don't go in back alleys, things of that nature. To your best, walk with somebody, at least one other person. If you have to forego where you're going at that time, then forego that. Try to really, take a forward look at where you need to be, what you're doing. But if you're going to go out for a walk at night, try to get somebody to go with you, or maybe just don't go for a walk at that time. If that situation happens, we've seen, multiple scenarios here. We talked about before where you can fight your way out, yell, kick, scream, yell to the best of your ability. We saw last September when that incident happened, a Good Samaritan came running over and assisted and aided. And unfortunately, we put a call out for that Good Samaritan last September at Hoyt Lake to come forward, and we unfortunately were never able to get that individual to come forward. So I'm asking again, if that individual is out there from last September, please call Buffalo Police, call any of the districts, call our Special Victims Unit, please contact us. But you're not always able to fight your way out of a situation. And I think you have to, do your best to remain as calm as you possibly can be in that scenario and see what else might be able to work. This survivor was able to talk her way out of this problem. And again, great work by her. Used a couple of different techniques. Whether she knew what she was doing at the time and kind of thought that out, or was just doing it, whatever it was, it worked. And we applaud her for that. And she was able to thwart any furtherance of that sexual assault.
Do the descriptions match between those two people?
I don't want to get too deep into this because, again, as the district attorney said, we don't want to muddy the waters on a case. We are looking into that other case. We're looking for any similarities. We've reached back out. We're working on talking to that other individual from last September. We're going to see where it takes us, but I don't want to get too deep in right now and falsely put something on an individual that we don't have evidence to do that at this time.
Are you asking us to put the mugshot out then?
I'm going to leave that for.
There's, it's 50-50. I mean, because it's obviously helpful from a public safety standpoint, but if someone identifies that person, through the media, then there could be a potential identification motion that comes later on at trial. All right, but listen here. We put it out. All right, Kate put it out. All right, so it is what it is. I mean, I'll deal with the legal stuff later on. From a public safety standpoint, I think it's better to have it out there.
Looking at the city data that is published, there's been 20 instances of sexual abuse or sexual assault this year. What makes this one stand out? Was it just the brazen attempt, or what's the message?
You have to look at the differences in these, and what makes this one even more scary is because they're not known to each other. Those are they're all scary, don't get me wrong, but it's the random attacker that I think keeps a lot more people up at night. The other, terrible situation is the known attacker, and someone, gets attacked by, whether it be a relative, a friend, or something, obviously very equally tragic. But it's those unknown attackers that kind of come out in the bushes at night that really causes us all a lot of concern. it doesn't happen very often. I will say that it is pretty rare in our statistics to have unknown attackers, but it does occur. This is one of those scenarios that is more on the rare side that was an unknown attacker. And fortunately, again, for very fast response, our patrol officers were able to get this individual into custody. We'd be looking at a whole different scenario if we're doing a manhunt for this individual. We're very grateful to get this person off the street. As John said, hopefully remains in custody and stays away from everybody where he belongs is locked up.
And also what Allison said too. I mean, we don't want people attacking people in public parks. I want people to jog in Delaware Park. I want people to be able to walk through Shoshone Park. I want people to walk through the city of Buffalo and Erie County while having to worry about someone attacking them. And so while I totally agree with the commissioner that any sexual assault, whether it's in a private bedroom or whether it's in a public park, are equally heinous. But from let's be honest here, from an overall public safety standpoint, it's a much bigger story if it happens in a public park. And so we need to ensure, and my response to your question, Allison, as far as what can I do to make sure that women are protected in public parks and jogging, like my wife and my daughters, and all of our daughters here, is to keep the person in jail and to make sure that when they're caught, that they're prosecuted and a message is sent that we take this seriously, and if you do this, you're going to face the consequences. And the consequences are you're removed from society and you're put behind bars.
Commissioner, knowing that this incident happened, you're not sure if it's connected to any other previous incidents, have you upped patrols in the area of parks? So what have you changed, particularly in that?
I would say we up patrols, but we've already been doing that. That's something that is on our regular path. Every district chief knows where their parks are, and part of our directed patrol model is getting out and checking on those parks. We look outside, the weather has significantly changed over the next couple of days, and we're going to start to see better weather. You already see the Parks Department putting up tennis nets and prepping the parks for the warmer weather to come. That means we step our patrols up in those parks as well. So, you are going to start to see more of those patrols in those parks. And it's not just during park hours. And keep in mind, the parks close at night, and we don't want people in the parks after they are closed. That doesn't mean that we still don't go through and drive through those parks and do those directed patrols in those parks. So we are out there, we've been out there, we'll continue, and yes, they will increase. And that's just by nature of the weather warming up, because more people are going to be utilizing those parks.
One more, is there one more?
There are neighbors there who talked about how it's very, very dark when it's not baseball season in Shoshone. And do you think they need more lights or any other kind of safety measures that need to be taken in parks?
Obviously during softball season, baseball season, those lights are on while the games are on. When they're not, it's off. Looking at the bike path, the park itself, probably a little difficult to have illuminated, and that's why we're asking people not to go into parks. You look at Delaware Park, there's lights around the ring road itself, but not deeper inside the park. So, that's where we're asking the public to be mindful of where you're walking, what you're doing. Every single place cannot be illuminated, but we've been having discussions already on certain areas of what we can do about adding cameras, adding lights, infrastructure stuff. Unfortunately, it does take time, it does take money. We're looking at different funding sources to continue to expand our camera program. It's very important to the mayor, as it is to myself, parks, everybody, to continue to add to the infrastructure in our camera program. So we add money to our camera program every year. We look for grant opportunities. We're waiting on the tech grant coming in from New York State. Hopefully that comes in soon, because we have other technology updates, which includes more cameras, better cameras, license plate readers, things of that nature that will help us in investigations, but also help to keep some of these areas safer, if you will.
Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Commissioner, just for logistics, this happened on the backside of the park, closer to Main Street or closer on
So closer to the back right corner of that LaSalle station parking lot. So if you,
Construction area?
no, that's the parking lot of Shoshone. So if you're on Hurdle and you walk into the park, you've got the diamonds. There's two diamonds behind the snack shack. There's the one right behind the snack shack, and then there's one in the back right corner on Parkview Court. So I think right about kind of between those is where the stairs come down from that Metro Rail Station parking lot. So kind of in that vicinity right over there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.